Alright, this video is on the removal of the print bed on the Compress 1200. When your printer arrives, the bed will be in the lower position. The bed will be secured with these mounting brackets. So the first step will be to go ahead and remove these brackets. You're going to need a 3mm Allen wrench, a 5mm Allen wrench, and quite possibly a Phillips. This is either going to be the 3mm or the Phillips. So removing these brackets, the screws that are horizontal are the only screws that you're going to have to remove completely. Those you're going to completely back out. These other screws here are attached with T-nuts, so it's going to take a partial rotation and then they'll simply come off. There are a total of 6 brackets on the printer. Go ahead and remove all of those. So once your brackets are removed, you're going to need to raise the bed. You're going to have to attach some power. Once your power is attached, go ahead and release the E-stop. You're going to see that the up-down buttons power up. Press the raise button and you're going to raise the bed to about the midpoint. Alright, so the next access point, we're going to have to remove this back panel. There are 9 screws that secure the panel. Remove the screws and then this panel will simply come straight back. Give you access to the underneath. Alright, once the main back panel is off, the next thing that we need to do is go ahead and remove this sub panel. So the easiest way to remove this panel, the bottom 2 screws are threaded, the top 2 screws are T-nuts. Make sure the top 2 screws are loose before you take the bottom screws out so it doesn't fall. So we're going to take out the bottom screws, then loosen the top 2 screws and lower it. It's a good idea to have somebody on hand to help you lower it so it doesn't fall. Okay, with the back covers removed, we now need to disconnect the bed electrically. Depending on the version of the printer you have, there may be a box down the middle here with the connectors that are simply plug-in. On this version, I've gone ahead and removed the motor cover here. Inside here you can see the electrical connections. You're going to have to disconnect those connections. Okay, with the wires removed from the motor, we have a single bracket here that's going to have to be undone in order to allow the wires to be loose from the frame. Alright, while we're at the back of the printer, the next thing that we have to do is go ahead and remove these guide brackets. These are T-nuts like the frame, so just a turn or 2 on the screw and the whole bracket will come loose and then drop down. You can just let the bracket lower there. Same thing on both sides. The next step here is to remove the side panels. There's one on each side on the front. On each side there are 2 screws on the top and 1 screw on the bottom of each. Alright, with the screws out, these brackets will simply slide straight out. And you can go ahead and set that up on the top for now. The next thing that we need to do is take and remove the wires from the bed. They are simply held in by a little plastic strip. And if you pry that plastic strip loose, you can clear those wires from the bed. And now the wires are separate from the bed. Take the panel and you can go ahead and move it down below and store it there. And you don't need to disconnect all the connections on the bed. Okay, we have the removal of the panel on the opposite side. It removes the same way. Go ahead and push it up on the top. Again, you can see the wire connections and the little plastic piece that holds the wires inside the on the rail. Remove the plastic piece and your wires are now free from the bed. So on this side we have the media sensor. The media sensor wire is just tucked inside the guard here, and you can go ahead and pull the wire out here and simply disconnect the wire here. Okay, we're again on the back side of the printer. We're going to have to disconnect the media sensor that's mounted to the bed here. We'll take our guard off to give us access. If you take a look at the side right here, you can see that the wire is kind of fed through here and tied in. It's also tied in underneath. You're going to have to disconnect it at the terminal here. There's a big hole that terminal will fit down through, so go ahead and slide that down through the hole and then clear the wire and make sure it's not attached to the bed. The last cover panel has been removed to allow us to remove the bed. Now we need to disconnect the bed from the frame. There are 8 screws that attach the bed. You can see them here. You may have to move the bed forward to allow access. There are these 8 screws, 2 on each side front and 2 on each side on the back. In order to access the 2 screws on the front of the bed, we're going to have to move the bed back to expose those screws. Again, you have 2 screws here, 2 screws on the opposite side, and these are the last screws securing the bed. Okay, the bed has been disconnected from the frame and it's time to lift out. This is probably a job for 3 people. I would station them 2 at the front, 1 on each side, 1 at the back to help guide it out. At this point, we can lift the bed straight up and then walk it forward, and it'll come clear of the printer. So when it comes time to reinstall the bed, here's a little cheat that'll help you get it aligned. If we take a 5mm Allen screw and screw it in these holes towards the front, towards the rear on the back panel, these are Allen screws, so they have a socket in the top, so we can put these on here. When the bed drops on, these holes, these pins will align the bed perfectly. We can put the screws in here, and then with the Allen wrench from the top, we can simply remove these from the top and attach the other bolts here.